Commissioners, I set before you the Blue Cross Blue Shield open enrollment forms. If you'll fill those out and turn them in by the end of October. A couple of you have already turned them in, so I didn't set you one there. But whether you have any changes or not, just complete the form, and it's a two-sided form, and turn it in. Those changes, of course, will take place January 1 of 2020, so next year. I've also set in front of you a United Way pamphlet and a pledge card. So if you're interested in contributing, you can do a one-time contribution, or it can go through payroll. You can fill it out the way you want, and any amount you want, you can put on there.
We need to do anything if we don't take the insurance.
Yes, whether you make any changes, or even if you don't want it, there's a part on there that you select that you don't want it, you decline it. Is there any other questions? That's all I had. Thanks.
Thank you, Wendy. At this time, I'm going to ask Mayor Britton to introduce our next speaker, please.
We're fortunate tonight to hear from Steve Lawrence, who is one of the organizers of the RAM event in April at Walter State Community College. And what RAM is basically it's remote area medical, where they bring medical providers into the community to service low income and those who don't have insurance, so whether it be dental or medical, or eye exams, those kinds of things. And that will take place at Walter State in April. There was one last week in Granger County, I think.
This last weekend.
This last weekend. So Steve's going to come up and give a small presentation.
Thank you, Mayor. I should have given you the clicker now since you did the presentation. Members of the body, thank you very much for the opportunity to present this. I'm going to take about 5 minutes, talk about RAM, what's going to happen here in Hamlin County next April, and then answer questions and see if we can ask for your support. With me today is John Vasquez. John will talk to you briefly during this 5 minutes also about what drew him to this project. So,
Oh, you want this to work?
yes, no, well,
We can push it forward. You make it.
all right. We're gonna go like this. Thank you. Okay. So, RAM is a nonprofit provider of health services, actually based here in East Tennessee, but provides services all around the U.S. and historically all around the world. Free, high-quality dental, vision, and medical services to underserved, underinsured people who just have to come, line up in the morning, ask for services, and there is absolutely no charge to any patient to receive services at a RAM clinic. Over the years that RAM has been providing these services, there have been more than 135,000 volunteers. We'll talk about how many volunteers we need here in Hamlin County. RAM has treated over 750,000 patients for free without charge. And the dollar value of the services provided are now approaching $150 million. A little bit of history, and you may have heard the name Stan Brox. Stan passed away a little over a year ago. But Stan was the founder. There's a whole history of how he came to do this, because he was serving overseas, needed medical care, and was told it would take many, many days to get medical care. He thought there has to be a better way to do that. I won't go into the details. Those of us who are old enough remember the Mutual Omaha Wild Kingdom, and he was one of the hosts showing animals on TV on weekend mornings. Thank you. Next. So in April, a group of people have gathered together as a volunteer community host group to bring a RAM clinic to Hamlin County. We expect at least 600 patients, There'll be 40 to 50 dental chairs set up in the gymnasium at Walter State. Full-service vision screening on site with a mobile lab. This is not try these glasses on and see if they work for you, but custom-made glasses for 300 to 400 patients that weekend. General medical screening. There'll be referrals for follow-up care to providers in the community who have volunteered to see patients. RAM brings all the equipment. It's a little like the circus coming to town. There are trailer trucks full of equipment that will arrive on Friday morning at Walter State, and by 6 a.m. Saturday, we'll be ready to see the first 500 patients. Walter State is the host. Central Services is the nonprofit entity that we are working through, so any donations in kind or in money are deductible as a donation to a 501c3. And we expect to recruit 350 volunteers, medical professionals, and general people from the community. Next. It is free to all patients. Thank you. Next. The volunteers needed. We need particularly dental professionals. So every time I talk to a group, I say, well, it's at least 6 months since we're doing this. That means everybody in this group presumably will see their dentist once in the next 6 months. So take an extra brochure, remind your dentist that we could sure use their help for half a day, for a whole day, for the whole weekend. We need medical professionals, not only physicians, but nurses and support staff. So anybody in the physician's office where you go, you might take a brochure and ask them if they'd consider signing up to be a volunteer. Vision professionals, the same thing. And general support, everything from helping in the parking lots. We expect people to arrive on Thursday to be seen on Saturday morning. So everything from guiding people to registration to triage when they arrive and guiding people through the 2 days. Next. We're very blessed to have already been offered volunteer services. One of the things we need, RAM will bring about 30 professional people with them. The community typically provides hotel space for those people. The Best Western has already offered to give us 10 rooms for both nights, including breakfast, free, no tax. We have some other hotels that are offering that too. Depending on either the amount, the value of the donation, or the actual cash donation, we want to recognize those people in the community who have made a significant contribution to this clinic. Among other things, get their name and their logo on the t-shirt, and all 350 volunteers will be walking around all weekend with those t-shirts. Next. Talked about the hotel rooms. We have already signed up many of the churches in the community. We still need more. And we've said, can you take care of a meal for either the patients who will be there beginning on Friday morning or the volunteers? Can you bring part of a breakfast or part of a lunch or an evening meal for people who are going to be there? It's been really exciting. And as I said, we have medical follow-up in the community. A number of the clinics and physicians in town have already said they will take the referrals from us. Okay, next. How can you help? We need, the community needs to raise either in kind or in dollars about $45,000. RAM brings all the medical equipment, takes care of all the laboratory work, everything like that. So I always start out by saying if anybody here is willing to write the $45,000 check today, I can sit down and not finish the presentation. Beyond that, anything helps at all. You take donation online, the brochure that I see you have a black and white copy, I'll give you the color copy today. Has a link, you can go right to it. The same for volunteers. All volunteers, whether you're working in the parking lot or you're a licensed physician in Tennessee, need to register online. There's a very simple background check, and then you will start to receive emails. It's not a commitment, but it is the first step so that you'll know when there are needs, and RAM or we will contact you to do that. You see the Morristown Post Committee there. There's an email address. The phone number on there, we thought, there is a toll-free number for RAM, but the phone number you see on everything is my cell phone. I want to talk to you. If you have a question, please call. I want to ask John Vasquez to tell you just a brief story about why he is doing this.
Thank you, and thank you for having us in here and allowing us to address you all. I don't know, about 2 years ago, I got a close friend of mine. His name is Noel Montepic, and he had been helping RAM for the past 15 or 16 years. So he asked me to go with him. And he asked me, I keep saying, no, I don't want to go with you. But at the end, my beautiful wife and I decided to go to Weiss, Virginia. And that weekend alone, they saw 3,000 patients. 3,000 patients, think about that. No questions asked, they don't ask if you got insurance or what have you. One of the things that I have learned, like right here in Morristown and in Hamburg, the amount of people that do not have insurance is in the double digits. I mean, it's huge. I mean, I bet you that a lot of you know about people that do not have. Well, all that they got to do is show up and they will ask him or her a question as to their health, a little bit of history, and that's it. I mean, but anyway, I got to go back to my story. So I went to Weiss, Virginia, and first of all, I didn't know what to expect. And the next thing that I know is like, I see the people's, getting free glasses and doctors and all of this stuff, and I'm like, where are they getting all these people from? And there was a special gentleman that started telling me about a case, and I saw some of that, which a little kid, he was 8 years of age, and he has never been into an eye doctor. That was the first time for him to go and see an eye doctor. And he went, they took him in there, and like 2 or 3 hours later, he got a pair of glasses. So he comes out, and the first thing that he said, and excuse me, my voice cracks a little bit because, it really touched my heart. He said, is that the way that the tree looks like? And I just look at his parents, this kid's parents, and they were Anglos. I mean, they were adults, and they're like, where have you been, And that really opened my eyes. And I said, what? Right here in Morristown and in Hamblin, we got an opportunity. We got an obligation, to help people that needs our help. So that's what convinced me and convinced my wife. And since then, we had a committee of like about 12 people. We have raised already over $15,000. We got over 98 people already that have signed up, and this is within the last 2 or 3 weeks. And everybody that we talk are very, very excited. So if any one of you knows of anybody who needs help, please send them. It's going to be April the 3rd, 4th, and 5th. 4th and 5th is when the thing will take effect. Walter State Community College is going to host it, and they are doing a fantastic job. I mean, we cannot ask for any more help. But I'm sure that, you will hear more about us. If there is anybody individual in here that would like to participate, or if you know about a church, please let us know, okay? But anyway, I just wanted to share a little bit about my history and how I became about, aware of them and the goals and objectives that we have. So thank you very much.
Thank you, John. It's hard to follow. We can go along. There's 30 seconds of video. Let's see if we can get to it. We have a patient, and then we have a volunteer. And what she said was, she came with her grandchildren, and she came for dental care, and her grandson said, "Why do your teeth look like that?" And she said, "Well, didn't have the money, didn't have the insurance, whatever." And she walked out of there with a smile. The next one is a volunteer, a young man who talks about how many clinics he has volunteered, he has worked at. And he said for all his medical training, this is where he really feels he touches people. And that's what our volunteers say. So, to wrap it up, on the brochure you will see the names of people you probably recognize in the community. We're asking for the commission's support. Pass the word. Let it be known that this clinic will be happening. And if you have any questions, I'll take them now, otherwise we'll let you get on with your business. Any questions?
I got a question.
Yes, Tim.
This morning, I was honored and blessed to help an individual who was homeless. And do we have provisions to go out and get these homeless people to help them out? Because there's a lot of them out there that need medical needs.
Sure, so anyone can walk in, and nobody has asked for even an ID or
Well,
a name.
that's not the issue.
You're saying, how do we reach people to let them know?
How can we get them to Walter State? How can we get them out there to get this stuff?
Okay, one of the things that we discussed in our meeting, and I remember we're on the beginning, but we have talked to ETHRA, we have talked to several people that will do that, and not just people like him, but like nursing homes. There is a lot of elderly people that they cannot walk, they cannot drive, so we're going to approach them, we're going to send people. And we'll have, even if I got a driver or whatever, we'll make them that they will have an opportunity, so.
Because we have a significant amount of homeless, I think, here.
Yes, we do.
Okay,
Thank you.
very good, so you just solved the problem here, and our committee chair has just arranged
We'll see who takes
transportation.
care of it.
That's terrific, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, thank you for letting us take a little extra time, and we look for your support, and please keep in touch with us. If nothing else, go on to ramusa.org, click the volunteer tab, at least put your name on there for now, and we'll be back in touch with you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Before we start our committees, you will notice that we're going to be operating tonight on board, testing out our equipment. And Chairman, you need to give Trish a little bit of time to bring your screen up before you call your committee to order. So you might look to her to make sure that she's ready for you. I also want to mention that we have some changes on some of our committees as far as chairmanship is concerned and also as far as membership is concerned. And I tried my best to place you on a committee that you wanted to be on, and there were sometimes that wasn't possible, but as we take care of the business tonight, please look over on the left-hand side of your agenda and make sure that you're a member of the committee before you vote, okay? You don't have to be a member of the committee to discuss an item, but you do have to be a member of the committee in order to vote. Are we ready?
Roll call for each committee. As Tim announced, it's just pulled up on this device.
So there will be a roll call for each committee. We won't be doing this for all of our committee meetings. We're just testing out the equipment tonight.
Well, you-
All around.
Oh, I'm sorry. Mayor, he just reminded me of something that we wanted to do. We are honored tonight to have several of the candidates who are seeking the District 14 seat, and I'm going to ask the mayor to introduce those individuals to us at this time.
We've got 6 individuals who have indicated that they're interested in serving as the 14th District County Commissioner. And have contacted our office, and we've sent you their narrative or their resume. And what I want to do tonight is just put a face with a name and have the candidates stand up, and you commissioners can see who they are, and that'll be up for a vote on the agenda on the 24th. We'll go by alphabetical order. Eileen Arnwine, and Chris Cates, Scott Cutshaw, Edna Green, Jonathan Maxey, and Marty Wise. So those are the candidates at this point, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, and we would encourage, if you haven't already done so, candidates to check with the commissioners before they leave tonight. Okay. Are we ready? Okay. We need you all to log in, whether you're present or absent.
This is just roll call, so everybody can roll call for
Taylor Ward has got a problem. Of course, he may not be on the committee tonight. That may be it. That's it. Taylor's okay. He's not on one of the committees meeting tonight. Okay.
the ones shown present should be the ones that can log in should be the ones on the committee. Now, the rest of you will be able to request to speak, but you won't be able to vote.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to call the committee to order,
Okay.
and I'd like to ask if there are any visitors that would like to address the committee. If not, in recurring business, in your packets that you've received, you've seen the monthly checks. Do we have a motion to approve and accept the monthly checks?
So moved.
We got a motion from Mr. Doty. We got a second. Joe Huntsman.
Now, we can have a second, please, when you.
Second, Mr. Huntsman.
Second.
Joe, let me get you.
Yeah.
There you go, thank you.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? If not, all in favor, vote the motion. Motion carries. In old business, we have none. In new business, budget amendments, A1, Fund 101, County Commission, other facilities. This is for equipment sold on government deals. Ms. Hurst?
Again, this is equipment that's been surplus on gov deals from the maintenance department, and the money's being put back into lines where it can be spent. And if you want to know more about the detail, I've got that available. Any questions?
What was the total amount?
Pardon? The total amount sold on these three pieces of equipment is $2,989.
Sorry, hang on just a minute.
While they are working with this. If you don't mind, explain those three.
Okay. A 1991 Ford Aerostar van was sold for $281. A 2006 Cub Cadet 4x4 utility vehicle was sold for $2,575. And a Troy-built riding mower was sold for $133, for a total of $2,989. And that's being put back into line items where it can be spent.
Any further discussion? If not, we'll vote the motion. A motion and a second?
Motion.
Motion from Mr. Minnick.
Second.
Do we need to do that on the board?
There you go, I got a motion second now, I'm sorry. There you
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Any opposition, like sign. Motion carries. In other new business, 82, Fund 101, for the jail for $782. Ms. Hurst?
Let's see, I believe that's $732, at least one, 32, when
It
I'm
says
looking
82
at.
on mine.
Says 82.
The agenda says 82.
Okay, and on my, maybe a typo here, I think it's supposed to be 732, let's say that. And that was a Hobart electric mixer for $521, and a Globe meat slicer for $211. And that's being put back into the jail budget.
Any other discussion? Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Doty? Got a second? Mr. Huntsman? All in favor? Let's vote the motion. Yes.
You do the explanation of them all on where to go, yes or no, so it's.
Do all the
it's up
budget
on that.
amendments by acclamation?
You have to do that, all of them by yes and no vote,
Oh,
or if you want to go and change the vote, not to vote on here, right now, we got them all in there. Yes and no vote.
so do you want a roll call or just a acclamation?
Now, we just, it'll be on the machine, they can actually punch it on the machine, still do an acclamation over.
Jeremy, you drink that down a little bit.
We get everybody on the
know.
same
We
screen.
can't see everybody on the screen. Oh, that's better.
on?
Yes.
Okay. Item 4A3, Fund 101, Social, Cultural, Recreational Projects for $3,145. Ms. Bryant?
Yes, that was again the sale of a truck from the Cherokee Park. And that money is being put into line items where it can be spent, both in the capital projects line item and in the Cherokee Park line item.
Did we have okay, and we're voting on the board, correct? On the
Excuse me, I'm gonna correct myself on that playground equipment. But again, it was where it was sold and where it can be used for.
We're voting.
Non-votes, motion carried. Who was the second?
Mr. Huntsman, wasn't
It's okay if he did it, then we'll.
it? Yeah, Mr. All right.
We just want to introduce Joe as a second.
Item 4A5, 4. Fund 101, County Mayor for $375.
And this is on a refund from the credit card for a trip. Actually, it was where the credit card was charged, and because of the difficulty with the charging system, it got run through twice. And they refunded us the charge that was, of course, in error.
Do we have a motion? Motion, do we have a second? Tim Goins, Mr. Petrol. Any discussion? We can vote the motion. Item 4A5, Fund 101, Sheriff's Department for $13,472. Ms. Hurst?
This records the payment of the JAG, which is a Justice Assistance Grant. This records both the revenue that we receive for the grant and records it in the line item where the funds were spent, which was law enforcement equipment, and you approved the grant back some time ago, and also the spending of the funds.
Is there any discussion? Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Doty, motion? Second. Mr. Minnick? Let's vote the motion. Item 4A6, Sheriff's Department for $50. Ms. Hurst?
This records a donation from the Republican Party of Hamlin County to purchase Honor Guard uniforms. So again, this both records the donation and puts it into the line item where uniforms, where the money will be spent.
Do you have a motion? You have a motion, Mr. Cutshaw? Got a second? Mr. Doty? Any further discussion? Let's vote the motion.
0 no, motion carries.
Item 4A7, Fund 101 for Geographical Information Systems, $1,500. Ms. Bryant?
This takes $1,500 from a reserved account from the property assessor's office, where they collect funds from computerized mapping services, and moves it into the data processing line item, where they're going to purchase a computer with those funds. Again, these are funds that are just reserved for specific purposes.
We have is there a question, Mr. Neesmith?
Yeah, do they need it, or they just because they got the money, they want to spend it?
Well, they think they need it. This is their GIS technician, Ashley, and this will give her a computer to use for those purposes.
But didn't you say this is money that they had in reserve?
Yes.
Do we have a motion?
I'd like to say.
So moved.
Mr. Goins? Do we have a second?
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? We can vote the motion.
9 yes, 0 no, motion carries.
Item 4A8, and this is for Fund 151, Interfund Capital Outlay Note for $1,500,000. Ms. Bryant?
This is housekeeping that's related to the resolution that was passed last month, where the capital outlay note was passed, and we sent the information to the state. And this just goes along with the budget amendment that's necessary to put it in a budget amendment form. So this was passed and sent on to the state. So this is, again, I want to say this, it's not doing anything, it's just following along with what you passed last month. It's not doing anything in addition to that, other than doing the accounting piece of it. So it's not anything in addition, it's just the housekeeping part of that.
Do we have a motion? Mr. Doty, do we have a second? Mr. Petrov? Any further questions? Let's vote the motion.
Eight yes, 1 no, motion carries.
Item 4B, bid award for the new commercial grade tractor, Cherokee Park. Mayor Britton?
We had 3 bids on the tractor that was budgeted for Cherokee Park. The low bid is from Interstate Tractor in White Pine. It's a Massey Ferguson for $25,500, and that's the recommendation.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Goins, do we have a second? Mr. Huntsman?
We had some people in discussion.
I'm sorry.
Want to speak?
Mr. Neesmith, did you want to speak?
Yes. Okay, go ahead. What's the horsepower on this tractor?
40 horsepower.
Four-wheel drive?
Yes.
I guess you got 55 horsepower. PTO.
What'd you ask?
I asked for horsepower.
40
What
horsepower.
was your other tractor?
Huh?
What was the tractor you just got rid of?
36.
Need that bigger tractor?
It's the same size, just more horsepower.
4 more Pintos.
Huh?
4 more Pintos.
That's right.
Did you order a closed tab on this one? Or
No.
open tab?
Yes.
Didn't know if it, but maintenance down the road with John Deere, is it better on keeping up with the maintenance on it other than the load? You know what I'm saying?
I understand what you're saying, but this is gonna be a Massey Ferguson here. That's, The Kubota, it's been a good tractor.
Yes.
The maintenance on it has been pretty high on the Kubota. The four-wheel drive went out in it twice.
I just use the horsepower enough, we'll be moving through trees as far as pushing trees out of the way during winter weather too.
Yeah,
So that'll be enough to hold it.
yes.
I'm in.
Any warranty is better on the
Yes.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Doty has submitted.
Commissioner Minifield, the second plan. Are you?
You can vote the motion.
Nine yes, zero no, motion carries.
Item 4C, bid award for the asphalt hot box trailer for Berry Pool.
This is the first time we've ever purchased this unit, so we're a little unfamiliar with it. I got a recommendation from the Tennessee Department of Transportation. They recommended a more expensive unit because of ease of operation, the way it contains asphalt, keeps it hot overnight so you can use it the next day. They felt like this unit done a better job of that. This unit, you can go get 4 tons of asphalt and use what you can in a day. If you have any left, you can use it again the next day because the unit will heat it back up. So it gives a chance to work in the asphalt in the wintertime as well without being locked into good weather days. So we may end up getting more than one of these units if it works well, but the Tennessee Department of Transportation recommended a more expensive unit. They've got both kinds, and they say their people like the K&S better.
So the KNS allows them to reheat more than one day, and then if the others do not,
They do. They just, that other unit, they felt like burnt the asphalt up so it didn't adhere and didn't stick like it should the next day. They felt like this K&S unit done a better job of that.
Barry, how do they take the hot asphalt out of that hopper or shovel it out or what?
It tilts up, comes out the back.
So all the spreads flows out?
Yeah.
But if you want just a small hole, you can shovel it out and
Yeah,
get
you can shovel it out.
Mr. Neesmith, you have a question?
Who said it was, the higher machine was a better machine? The Tennessee Department of Transportation employees. Employees. They got one of them? They got both kinds. They got this Falcon and this K&S unit.
You gonna heat that stuff up with what more? I mean, overnight?
It probably is not good for 2 days like that because of, it's, the asphalt cement that holds everything together begins to char and burn after a day.
How much more expensive unit is it?
About $3,000 in it, Randy. I think it's $3,000.
Yeah.
About 10%.
And it's the KNS, Barry,
Pardon?
is it KNS that you were,
That's K&M, I'm sorry. By Public Works, Equipment and Supply.
yeah, that's right.
You get them filled up with propane tank, then you have to.
It uses propane to keep the asphalt hot. There's an onboard tack unit where you can have the tack that you put down for the asphalt. You can spray that tack. We never have had that capability of having tack before we make a repair, so it should stick a lot better. It's what's supposed to be put down before any asphalt is.
Difference of 3,403.
Okay.
Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Do you have a second? We have a motion and a second.
Change step. Change step.
Jim Goins is.
Oh, Kim Collins, okay.
Did you vote the motion?
zero no, motion carries.
Item 4D, bid award for uniforms for corrections officers. Lieutenant Hambrick.
I did. We accepted bids for a new uniform vendor this year, and 3 of them come back, and the one we're requesting is Summit, due to the location being in Knoxville instead of opposed to Nashville, which was actually the lowest bid. The lowest bid was $125.21, and the Summit one was $127.15. So. That one was the lowest. So that's the one we're picking just because of the convenience of being local. Our current uniform company, we've had a lot of problems with getting. We've been waiting 6 months or more to get new uniforms in. So the turnaround on this uniform company is also 14 days opposed to the 30 days of the other companies.
Do we have a motion?
Are we talking about just one uniform, or what, how many uniforms?
It's one set. So you get a long sleeve, short sleeve, and a pair of breeches, and then so each officer then gonna end up with three sets.
And how many sets? I mean, how many officers?
53 officers.
50.
Did we have a motion? Mr. Louis, do we have a second?
Second.
Ready to vote motion? Item 4E, notification of invitation to bid for the convenience center. Mayor Britton.
This is the project out at the landfill that is being funded partially by some recycling grants from the state of Tennessee. We opened bids on the 21st. We rejected the bids last month because of the lack of participation. We had a pre-bid conference last week, had 7 companies show up at the landfill, so we expect more participation. And we opened the bids on the 21st, and we'll come to the meeting on the 24th with those results. So there's no action needed today.
Item 4F, JBI renewal agreement, SCAAP. Mayor Britton.
This is a contract. We contract with a company to administer and process the federal grant. It's funding assistance for incarcerated and undocumented inmates. And so we contract that out, and they handle all the paperwork, and we're just asking for approval of the 3-year contract.
Do we have a motion to approve? So moved. Do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. Stepp.
You second?
Mr. Stepp is second. Ready to vote the motion?
Yes, 0 no.
Item 4G, video visitation. Lieutenant Hambrick.
We're looking at installing a new video visitation system for the jail. Our current one, we're having some issues with age. It's about 8 or 9 years old now. And of course, with anything technology, electronic, it's pretty outdated. We have some current visitation booths that that do not work, and they do not make parts for the current system anymore. And another issue we have with it is all the visitation being done at the jail. We get some handicapped folks and people that are confined to home that aren't able to visit. So we've been looking for a new visitation company. We found one at a conference that allows us to do some of the things we're looking for. This will allow us to have people visit off-site from home without limiting the amount of people that are actually coming to the jail to limit, kind of reduce the traffic there. And it also has the ability to, for people that have no internet access, they'll still be able to come to the jail, and there'll still be visitation booths there as well. There's some pretty cool technology involved in this. For the home visits, if any part of the person's face gets out of the screen, there's a little box in the screen. Any person's face, any part of it gets out of the screen, it goes black. So it kind of prevents any kind of obscene or any kind of unwanted actions going on there. But the system that we're recommending is no cost to the county. It's all paid through families, inmate families wanting to visit from home. There's no charge to visit at the jail, just like now. And there's also a messaging system. It's kind of like an email type of thing that allows inmates and families to email message back and forth to kind of reduce incoming mail to the facility, and that'll pay for the system as well. It's like 50 cents a message, incoming and outgoing. And then the electronic visit from home is $2 a visit.
Mr. Cutzall, you recognize?
I was wondering about the tech support. Are you good with this company?
Yes, that's one of the things we looked at here is with the tech support, if anything breaks or is not working the way it's supposed to, basically they're not getting paid. So they're.
Along with that last one, I mean, this technology, do you expect
that's another advantage of this company here, that every 5 years they'll kind of update us the technology. Because a couple years of technology and you're already out of date. So every 5 years they're going to upgrade as needed, and they can also grow into the new facility when we get there.
Is there not any kind of upfront charge on that or anything?
No, sir, nothing.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay, and this is probably a good time to mention that if you are using the system, if you're absent because you're not on that committee, you can still speak and request to speak, and just select it on your device.
question, what percentage, once it's up and going, with the video versus personal video?
Well, since about 8 or 9 years ago, we don't have any personal vision no more, other than our workhouse. There's no video visitation up there, and this company will also install them in there. There will no longer be personal visits anywhere in the jail, which for reasons, security reasons.
And the emails, are they streamed?
They have the capability of being screened. They flag keywords that we control the technology on it. We can put in keywords and it'll flag it, and we have to approve it before it's released to the inmate. It also has it captures certain phrases, like if you were to email me and then I want to email it back to someone else in the jail, it would pick up those key phrases and flag it where it wouldn't send it to them. Kind of prevent communication between housing units.
Well, they collect $2 off of every video.
From the home visits, yes, sir. If they come to the
Have they got a
apartment.
maximum or minimum they get?
It's an hour visit. It's an 1 hour visit.
No, I'm talking about the fee.
Oh, no, sir. It's that's paying for the equipment and for the upkeep of the equipment.
They're gonna get $2
for each. Correct.
$2 for each one. If it's 100 visitors a week or 1,000 visitors.
That's right. That's right.
How's that fee collected?
The families put money onto the account, and they see it as credits. So it'll take like 200 credits to do a video visit and 50 credits to send a message, type of thing. Yeah, the current system we have now does not generate any money for the county. This particular company we want to look at in the future of taking over or possibly looking at inmate phones. With their system, the county does get 100% of the commissions on the inmate phones, but we're still under contract with our current phone system.
When does that contract end?
I believe I think we got 2 more years on it.
Do we have a motion to approve? Mr. Stepp, do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second, any discussion? Motion.
9 yes, 0 no, motion carries.
Thank you, appreciate y'all.
Item 4H, maintenance agreement for video security upgrade, Mayor Britton.
This deals with the video security system at the jail. We upgraded and added cameras a few years ago to the system, and the maintenance agreement has expired on the initial installation. So what this agreement does is we're choosing to extend it for 3 years. It's a multi-year contract that the commission has to approve, and so with the multi-years and paying an annual, the charge once a year, we get all the discounts that are available. So we're just asking for approval.
Do we have a motion? Mr. Floyd,
What is that fee gonna be to extend that out?
Let's see. It's $17,989.33.
$17,989 for
33.
3 years.
No, yes. Well, it's per year,
$17,000 a year.
a year, for maintenance agreement for the cameras.
do we have a motion? Mr. Doty, do we have a second? Our Chipley? You good on that?
Sorry about that.
Any further discussion? Vote the motion.
Yes, 2 no.
Item 4I, and I has been added to it. It is a county trustee bond. Mayor Britton?
We want to look at pricing a bond for $2.8 million for Mr. Long, the trustee, to supplement the $400,000 insurance, liability insurance policy that we have. We don't have any quotes to present you today, but we will the 24th on commission. So we just wanted to get it added to the agenda for next week.
Does this require a vote?
Pardon?
You want insurance and bond?
Yes. For the trustee, for other officials, we don't do that, Wayne, but for the trustee, we do, because of the amount of money that's involved.
Do we need to vote this or just?
That, just be sure you add it in calendar and rules.
Add it to the calendar rules. That's all I have, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you, Chairman Ward. At this time, we'll recognize Chairman Goins of the Public Service Committee. And
Thank you.
Chairman, let's give him,
Thank you.
we can go ahead
Let me know when you're ready, Trish.
we can go ahead and see if there's anybody who wants to discuss. Yeah, go ahead.
Call the Public Service Committee to order. Is there anybody who wishes to address the committee?
My name is Gwendolyn Holden. I live at 2343 Sulphur Springs Road. I'm here to talk about the Joint Economic Board Amendment In today's public service meeting, I have some questions I would like to ask the Joint Economic and Community Development Board. I see an amendment to the Joint Economic and Community Development Board on your agenda. So I have some questions about this amendment. Number one, I may not get the answers, but I'm going to ask the questions. And I hope you county commissioners are up on speed on this, that you have looked and that you have questioned and that you have checked it out, okay? Who drew up the amendment? Does anybody know? Was it County Attorney Chris Capps, City Attorney Lauren Carroll, or someone else? That's the question I'm asking. Does the amendment change the membership of the board? From July 2014 to today, who are were the lawfully authorized members of the joint board? On June 30th, 2019, what items could the Joint Economic Development Board lawfully include chamber marketing cost in the Joint Economic Community Development Board budget? With this amendment, could the joint board pass a $500,000 budget for the notice of meetings and meeting space and chamber marketing and demand that county commission fund its share of that amount? These are questions that I'd like to have them answered. Is there any upper limit to the board's budget in this amendment? Now, I don't know if any of y'all know, but I'd like to have the answers to these questions. And you all should want the answers to these questions before you give them money to do what they're doing. You all should check it out and make sure that everything is on the up to up, that that's being honest with the people. This is the taxpayers' money. You all are taxpayers. It's your money too. We don't want it wasted. Check it out. Find out what's going on.
Thank you. Any other visitors? Seeing none. No old business. 4A, resolution to amend the zoning map of Hamilton County, Tennessee, resolution tax map 018, partial 112.01, district 03, 4710, Old Kentucky Road, Morristown, Tennessee, 37814, from R1 to A1. Lori Matthews?
That's me. Oh, my goodness.
Good evening to the commission and Mayor Britton. At the an application to rezone property at 4710 Old Kentucky Road was submitted by Ms. Rhonda Krenzer, acting as agent for the property owner, Summit Properties of Tennessee, Inc. The property, which is in the city's urban growth boundary area, is 1 acre in size and zoned rural residential, or R1, by the county. It contains a 7,000 square foot building, which was built in 1975. Several tenants over the years have occupied this structure, to include a furniture maker, and up until 10 or so years ago, it contained a glass etching business. Being zoned R1, any future use of the property other than residential would force the property into a non-compliant state with Hamilton County zoning regulations. Therefore, it is the wish of the property owner to rezone the property to A1, which is agricultural and forestry. This zoning designation provides additional land uses which are better fitted for the property. Some of these uses include, of course, residential, duplex, agricultural uses, neighborhood commercial convenience uses, which would include barber shops, gas stations, dry cleaners, and a vet's office. Recommendation from staff, after discussing it at length, we would be in support of this proposal, and the Morristown Planning Commission at their last scheduled meeting recommended that the Hamilton County Commission approve this request as well. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Is there anything else, ma'am?
No, sir.
Any discussion? None? Any motion to approve?
Make a motion.
Make a motion? Second? Joe Huntsman.
Need a second on the board.
Vote? Vote the motion?
Request to speak. Laura, is this still gotta go through the city?
No, sir, it has already been through the city.
Did it pass the city?
Yes, sir, it has.
Anything else? Vote the motion?
Eight yes, 0 no, motion carries.
Okay. 4B, revision to the property maintenance regulations. Mayor, can I have you speak to that?
All right, in your packet is, it's a lengthy document. It's the property maintenance code and some amendments that are being proposed. And you should have in your packet the amendments that are in red print and amendments that are in blue print. The original black print is the original property maintenance code that's been in existence for a while. And then the red print are draft 2 amendments that were approved by the Planning Commission. And then in blue print are draft 3 amendments. And those were proposed by staff within planning. Tommy McKinney, our enforcement officer, suggested some changes to help him, give him some more tools in his enforcement efforts. Let me just touch on a few things, some of the highlights of the changes. One on page 2, section 7, in red print, and it's phase 2 is effective. What's effective with the passage of these amendments is that it applies to all properties outside the corporate limits of the city of Morristown. If you recall, back in 2018, the commission approved the enforcement of the property maintenance code for subdivisions only. So this would apply to all property outside the corporate limits of the city of Morristown. If you turn farther into the document, if you look at section 105, titled Violations, under Prosecution of Violations 105.3, any violation of the property maintenance can be a Class C misdemeanor and/or a civil infraction. Previously, it was either, but with this change, it could be both. And that would give the judge and the enforcement officer more flexibility there. Let's see, section 107, unsafe structures and equipment. And in 107.1.5, abandonment of construction projects. It talks about any construction upon which no substantial work has been undertaken for a 6-month period with no request for extension of time shall be deemed abandoned by the building official. Upon any construction project being deemed abandoned, all buildings or structures not completed to the degree such buildings or structures have been indicated on the plans submitted in support of the building permit, and all building materials and construction equipment shall be removed from the site. So any questions on that one? Yes.
You going through all that? Go through them now.
Yeah. Okay. All right, if you look at section 110, means of appeal. In this amendment, in Amendment 2 and 3, and basically in Amendment 3, the role of the Property Maintenance Board changes from what it is now, becomes more of an appeals board. Currently, the Property Maintenance Board is 3 members of the Planning Commission that are not county commissioners. Or the Planning Commission consists of 5 citizen members and 2 county commissioners. So right now, as it stands, 3 of those 5 citizen members will serve on the Property Maintenance Board, and that's selected by the Planning Commission. And that changes under 110.2, membership of board. The Property Maintenance Board shall consist of 5 members. It's those 5 citizen members will consist of the Property Maintenance Board. And then under 110.2.4 talks about the authority of the board. It can propose amendments to the rules and regulations governing its operation and conduct in meetings, determine if a violation was committed, subpoena alleged violators, witnesses, and evidence, hear sworn testimony, make findings of fact and issue orders necessary to remedy any violation of the code, and impose fines and penalties. That's the authority of the board. And then in 110.4, it talks about how an appeals hearing would take place. And it goes through the process of how an appeals hearing would take place. And it's much like a court case, where both sides have the opportunity to present their evidence, and then the Property Maintenance Board makes its finding. Now, these appeals are appeals of violations that the code enforcement officer has found. And so the property owner has the opportunity to appeal those findings, and this is the appeals process that the property owner can go through. And that's in blueprint in your document. Then the next page, it continues with the process, and then also details the case decisions. And it's by a majority vote of the 5, or how many are present at that time, decides whether the appeal is successful or not. Under definitions, under section 202, in red, there's a definition for curtilage. And curtilage is used in the document, and we were missing it's a legal term, and we were missing a definition in the document, and it's defined as the enclosed space of ground and buildings immediately surrounding a dwelling. And then a house trailer on the next page is defined as a trailer fitted with accommodations for sleeping, eating, washing, etc., including but not limited to mobile homes, campers, and recreational vehicles, but excluding double-wide mobile and modular homes. And then there's a definition of an operable motor vehicle that's expanded. It's expanded to include car, truck, van, bus, recreational vehicle, motorcycle, and parts thereof. And then also definition of an operable motor vehicle. A vehicle can start at any time, steer and move forward, and reverse under its own power. And those terms are used later on in the document. And then repeat offense. We've been having some issues with the same property owner repeatedly violating the property maintenance code year after year after year. And so to expedite the enforcement on repeat offenders, there's been a section added, and here's a definition of repeat offense: the repeating of or returning to a violation by the same offender and or same type of offense. Next page, section 301, vacant structures and land. Added to that are premises of vacant structures are required to be maintained by the provisions of the code as if the structure was occupied. So if you own a home that is abandoned or is not being lived in, the property owner is expected to maintain the property as if someone is living in it. Under 302.3 weeds, it's amended to read all properties within the county that do not fall within the exception clause set forth in this resolution shall be maintained free from weeds or plant growth in excess of 12 inches in height. Later on, you'll see in that provision that vacant lots within subdivisions are exempt from this provision of the code, and there's also a list of, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 other situations that are exempt, including farmland, undeveloped wooded areas, stream beds and banks, heavy wooded parcels, slopes covered with vegetation recommended by Ag Extension, portion of land or premises excluding the curtilage of any dwelling located, portion of land or premises that are excluding the curtilage of any dwelling located thereon due to steepness of terrain, rock, or rocky outcroppings. Land used for agricultural purposes like hay or pasture, gardens, or field crops. Active construction and demolition projects in private country clubs and golf courses. Inoperable vehicles being amended to, in 302.6, inoperable motor vehicles, except as provided for in other regulations, no more than 2 inoperative, unlicensed, and uninsured motor vehicles shall be parked, kept, or stored in any premise of 1 acre or less. Any parcel larger than 1 acre is allowed to have 4 inoperative motor vehicles, and then 5 motor vehicles constitutes a junkyard, which we have a moratorium on junkyards. So, house trailers in 302.7, it shall be unlawful for any person to locate and occupy any house trailer or portable building unless it complies with all plumbing, electrical, sanitary, and building provisions applicable to stationary structures, and the proposed location conforms with the zoning provisions of the county, and unless a permit therefore shall have been first duly issued by the building official as providing for in the building code, the user and or owner must have acquired a permit from the county building official before occupying the structure. So that's house trailers. Under roofs and drainage, this provision is added when required, talking about roofs that are leaking, causing unsanitary conditions in homes. When required, it shall be the responsibility of the property owner to restore or repair within 6 months of a notice of violation said surface, which is the roof or flashings, to an approved state of maintenance and repair. Tarps and plastic covers are not considered an adequate roof repair. Then under section 306, and this is disposal of rubbish, and this amendment comes from the discussions on property maintenance code. And this comes from, it talks about construction waste such as scrap, lumber, plaster, roofing, and concrete resulting from construction, repair, remodeling, or demolition of any building or other appurtenances. Anybody know how to pronounce that word? On private property generated by a contractor for profit will not be removed and or picked up by the county garbage department. And persons searching through and scattering material that has been properly bagged are considered to be littering and can be charged with a Class A misdemeanor. Because one of the issues that we're having is folks will put at the road bagged the way they're supposed to, debris and rubbish, and then folks will start rummaging through it and just scatter it, and causing stormwater issues as well as littering. And so if caught doing that, they can be charged with a Class A misdemeanor for littering. And then in 307, it's under code enforcement, talks about property maintenance staff will make every effort to work with those individuals with legitimate financial issues that may affect their ability to correct a violation within the given compliance time. For example, if a loan is needed, staff may allow the individual additional time to make proper arrangements with their lending institution. Staff may also provide referrals to social service agencies that may be able to provide resources and assistance. Also, in the enforcement process, this process is this. First, the code violation complaint is received or is identified by the code enforcement officer. Then a field review takes place by the codes officer. Then a violation is identified and documented. Then a notice is sent and 10 days is given to correct violation, or a written request for additional time to correct the violation or to appeal the violation. Then the second field review will take place by the codes official. If the violation is not corrected, the code official will issue a citation of a $50 fine and give 10 additional days for compliance, and advise that a second citation with additional fines, court costs, and attorney's fees will follow if not corrected. And then after that, it would be court action, and then return to court if the court order is not followed. That's the enforcement process. And then 307.2 is for repeat offenders. The enforcement of this code for repeat offenders will follow this process. Complaint or found by a code official within 6 months of the original violation, code official will issue a citation with a $50 fine and give the violator 10 days to comply. A second field review will take place. A citation to court with additional fines, court costs and attorney's fees if not corrected, then court action, and then return to court if the court order is not followed.
Question.
Those are the amendments, yes.
Every one of us in their districts, I'm sure, has violations of some sort of kind. If I reported an issue, I was given a packet. Well, fill this out and get it back to me. I'm sorry, I'm not gonna sit down, I don't know if it's, I can't remember, 3 or 4 page packet. You know, I'm not gonna sit down and fill out this whole packet and have the code enforcement go out there. I'm not gonna do his job. We need to tell him where it's at, we need to identify it for him. And he'll go out there, he needs to fill out all the paperwork, does he not?
I guess, Tim, the reason that form is used, one is to weed out complaints that are not legitimate, like if a neighbor's just having an argument with a neighbor. And if they're not willing to fill out the form, then do we need to get involved? You know, if it's just neighbors not being neighbors. But that's part of it. But also, it's part of the documentation. I mean, these are regulations, and we got to have that documentation. And the complaint, this is a complaint-based system. We got to have that complaint as the first step.
And I understand that, but shouldn't I, as a county commissioner especially, say, I've got an issue right here at whatever address in my district. Can you check it out? Because if not, I know a lot of commissioners are going to sit back and not fill out this paperwork, and we got a guy who's going to be drawing a bunch of money, sitting on his duff, not doing anything.
If you've been, you need to hang around his office, Tim. He's not sitting on his duff.
I understand, but the thing of it is, why should we have to fill out all this paperwork?
Okay, you could look at it a couple of different ways. One is, we treat all the elected officials the same as a citizen. And they fill out the form. I mean, if I had a problem and I was complaining, I would have to fill out the form.
You would?
I agree with him up to a point. I think that we need those forms as simplified as we can. I mean, 4 or 5 pages of a document handed to you is going to discourage not just the commissioner, it's going to discourage the public.
The public, exactly.
Sure. That is a 5-page packet.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
That is a 5-page packet, 4 or 5-page packet. But the second, third, fourth page explains how to fill it out. You just fill out the front sheet, that's all. There's nothing more after that. It's basic information, address, a quick explanation of what the problem may be, whatever it's a code, maintenance code or a zoning code or whatever. I've got somebody living in a mobile home, motor home out here, or that kind of thing. One page, the front page. The other ones are just a brief explanation of how it needs to be filled out.
Bill, there's something coming up Thursday. We got a public hearing on this. And a lot of these people that's sitting out here, they're like I am. I went down to the planning commission, Uzziah McKinney, and asked to get a copy of these. And I was told, well, you'll get it in your packet. Well, I got it in my packet Friday. And today's Tuesday. The general public don't have it yet.
Well, it's on the county website.
It come on Friday.
I don't know what day it was on there, but it's on there.
It come when I picked my packet.
Now, it was on the planning and zoning page before it was on the county commission page.
I went down to the planning and asked for it.
Right.
And I was told I'd have to get it. McKinney, you're standing right there when she told you this, that I'd have to get it in my packet. Am I right?
Yes.
Thank you. But you got a public hearing come up. I think the public needs to know what's going on.
Right.
And they don't, I guarantee you. Now, there won't be two of them back there that knows anything about this, about the maintenance codes.
Well, now,
It's not been spread around.
The commissioners, you guys have had draft 2 since the 1st of September.
Draft 2.
We gave
not
that
draft
to
3.
you the 1st of September.
Not draft 3.
Correct.
Right.
I'm for it. I don't care who don't like it.
Let's get a motion.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion.
Second.
Second.
Got a second? Pardon me?
You got it.
Yeah, we got it.
Okay. Let's vote the motion.
Five yes, 3 no. Motion carries.
Okay. 4C, amendment joint economic community development board and Hamilton County, Tennessee agreement. The agreement is in your packet.
You want me to address that, Tim?
Please.
Okay, in your packet is, it's a, what's the right term? I guess a marked up copy of the original agreement between the city of Morristown and Hamilton County forming the joint economic and community development board. So you can see through the strikeout parts that would be taken out of the agreement and then restated under the areas that are underlined. To answer Ms. Holden's, one of her questions, I prepared this document along with the county attorney's review. And then, so you can see that we did some research on the original agreement was adopted, I think, in 2001 after Chapter 103 of the state legislature passed forming or requiring every county to have a joint ECD board. So the city and county entered in that agreement in 2001. There was a proposal to amend it in 2003, which was not executed by the city or county. There was another amendment that was executed in 2016, I think, which wasn't done properly. So in what you have before you is an amendment that primarily it changes the membership of the board. It was originally the county mayor, the city administrator, the mayor of Morristown, and a person who owned property that was under the Greenbelt law. Under this amendment, the chairman of the county commission is, the chairman of the city industrial board and the president of the Chamber of Commerce are added to it. So originally it was the county mayor, city administrator, chairman of the county commission, city mayor, and there's 2 added folks under this amendment. And then under meetings, we struck the first sentence that was taken out because it didn't apply anymore, because that was for the very first meeting, that applied to the very first meeting of the board. And then same thing to the first line of the officials, or the officers rather. Then under funding, it was clarified that it would be used for costs associated with providing adequate notice of the Open Meetings Act, marketing expenses required to recruit and retain companies' employers, and other functions of the board. And then under budgets, the board shall adopt a budget before the first day of April of each year. The total budgetary amount shall not exceed funds necessary to provide, and here's the added verbiage, costs associated with providing adequate space, for costs for adequate public notice of meetings under the Open Meetings Act, for expenses for marketing activities required to recruit and retain companies, employers in the county, and other functions of the board. And then under item number 11, administrative duties, this is a brand new section, and that basically identifies the Morristown Area Chamber of Commerce and its economic development staff as the administrators of the board. So that's the amendment. So I guess the bottom line on the amendment is it changes, it makes the interlocal agreement conform with the way the board's been operating.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
This was back in 2001. At that time, I don't think anybody ever heard of the Economic Development Board, because at that time we had 2 people. That was all that was on this. Is all that was on it. But today things have changed, and it's changed to the better. Because I know when I was growing up, Percy Monroe and a bunch of those guys came down from up north and built furniture factories here. They didn't have an economic development board leading them down the road. They just showed up, built them a factory, and started making furniture. Gluck, Harry Gluck did the same thing, Burt Goodes, the whole thing. So the economic development board is important, but my whole concern was, back when I brought it up during budget, why we're paying $91,000, why the city's just paying $60,000. That goes back to the census that's taken. This thing is based on the census of how many's in the city and how many's in the county, although the city owns this property where you're doing your economic development at. So I told Randy that if they had just come before the county and get the right paperwork, there wouldn't be any problems. But they didn't do that. They went on 2016 and made an amendment where they could add 3 or 4 people to it, which wasn't legal. And now this is going to make it legal for them to do this. The only thing I see in this, you got the county mayor, and you got Mr. Shipley. He's on the board, but he's not on the executive board. That's where the money situation comes in, on the executive board. But the city has got 2 people on the executive board. They got Fishman and Jack Fishman and the Chamber of Commerce man on it. So they've got 2, but the county's just got Bill. And I think Howard should be on that board. Because we're putting up most of the money.
Now, any budget, the budget is adopted by the board, not the executive committee, but the board.
So I'm looking at the executive.
But the budget for the joint ECD board is adopted by the board. And so the chairman of the commission is involved in that decision.
Chairman, he's on the executive committee?
No, he's on the board, and the budget comes before the board.
Well, the executive committee makes the budget.
They make a
the
recommendation to the board.
They make the budget. I think he should be on it.
Okay.
What's it gonna hurt to put the man on, he's already on the board, what's it gonna hurt to put him on the executive board? When the city's got 2 people on it. But, you know, in today's world, you've gotta have somebody out there getting your business. And the finances on this thing, when this comes up, the board says we need more money, and they'll go to their executive board to get it, and then they'll come before the county commission to get that money. That's how it works. Right? I don't think as a commissioner here or anybody in audience, I don't think that Jack Fishman is doing a fantastic job with this economic development board. I know he is. He's out there getting people, trying to get people to come in here. And, you know, if you're gonna ride the train, you gotta pay for the ticket. That's a little different from what you used to say, Bill. What little word you used when over on,
Well, I have no
what was
clue.
yours? What was your word you used over in the,
This is a trap.
applied technology?
Skin in the game. Is that what I said? I have no idea. I can't remember yesterday, Wayne, I'm sorry.
I kept it, I didn't want to forget that, I had never heard it before. But I don't think there's anybody here that won't vote for this thing. But all we need to do, we need to go the correct paperwork. And when Marshall Ramsey come up here with his thing on 216, and he stood right in here, and he called a citizen a liar, and said that the old commissioner bucked up against him, and he's no longer a commissioner. But in Mr. Ramsey's thing, he said there was never but 3 people on this board. There's always been 5. There's always been 5. 2 for the county, 2 for the city, and the other guy. So, you know, if they do the right paperwork, I don't think you got any problem with it. And you old vice president.
Well, I think they do a fantastic job. Honestly, if you look at the results that of the industry that has been brought in and what that will do for our tax base so that we can share those expenses across a greater number of people, that's a nice way to keep taxes from rising. So I'm appreciative of what the chamber does.
Section 10, it discusses the budget and statement due from each participating government. It says, in the event either county or city does not fully fund this contribution, the board may establish and impose such sanctions or conditions as it deems proper. What power does this board have to establish and impose sanctions and conditions towards an elected body such as this commission?
It's, Thomas, I don't know exactly what, it's in the law, it's in the state law, it's in the statute.
What? It's in the statute?
It's in the statute.
In the PCA then? Okay. I'll look it up.
Any more discussion? Seeing none, do I have a motion for approval? Need a motion?
You want the motion?
I make a motion that we approve it.
We have to do that up here.
Second?
I'll second. It's been seconded already.
Oh, yeah. Let's go to motion.
Seven yes, 1 no, motion carries.
Thank you. 4D, surplus items from the finance department, which are an HP LaserJet Pro 400 color printer, a Formax tabletop pressure sealer. Is finance department here? Nobody from finance department? Are these items just outdated, or they're bad, they don't work? Or?
Yes, we've replaced the pressure sealer. I think it's been in the department maybe, I'm gonna say at least, I'm thinking maybe it's 10 years.
Oh.
We replaced it this year already, so we've got a new one.
Okay.
This is one that's been replaced. The color printer, it's an old inkjet. We're still using it, we'd like to replace it with something that doesn't just take as much ink, that's a little more modern.
Okay. Any other discussion? Do I have a vote to approve?
Motion.
Motion?
Second.
Second. In favor?
Let's see.
Jeff? Let's vote the motion.
8 yes, 0 no, motion carried.
Okay, thank you. Chairman, that's all I have.
Thank you, Chairman Barnes. At this time, we'll recognize Chairman Stepp of the Calendar and Rules Committee.
Thank you, Chairman. Call to order the Calendar and Rules Committee. We wish to address the committee. You have 5 minutes to do so. If there is none, is there any old business? We have a motion to approve the regular calendar items with the addition of the
Trustee bond. The county trustee bond.
have a motion. Do I have a second? Second.
No. 1 second, let us
Just a minute.
catch up with you.
Any discussion?
We gotta get it on the board here, Chairman. Mr. Stepp.
Everybody's gonna have to reconnect, probably.
Joe, yeah.
Commissioner Naismith,
Commissioner Eastman,
sign in, please.
connect.
Jeff Leggett.
Yes.
Will they do the roll call on the ones that's on the committee?
I think you better.
Everybody was just
Yeah.
3 or 4 on the committee, was just 4. 6. Jim Stepp.
Thomas Downey, Tim Warner, and Joe Menson.
Jim Stepp.
That's what we have in place. Okay.
That's, it is vacancy. Vacancy.
Excuse me.
Who seconded? Push your button, second. Whoever did. Okay, we got it.
Ready? Vote the motion.
Six yes, 0 no, motion carries with the addition.
Motion passed.
Barnes, trustee Barnes.
Ready? Item 4B, review the consent calendar. Have a motion.
So moved.
Who was that? Tom Cole, make a motion. A second. Tim Horner, second. Any discussion? If not, vote the motion.
Six yes, 0 no, motion carries.
Motion passed. Chairman, that's all I have.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Pett. Want to remind all commissioners of our Jail Justice Center Committee meeting this Thursday, the 17th, at 5 p.m. here in the courtroom. We'll receive the report of the design team, so don't forget that, all commissioners.
We have plans, we see plans in,
I don't know whether,
you're looking at plans.
Yes.
I think, Mayor, you still plan on meeting with individuals? The mayor is still planning on meeting with each of you on an individual basis and go over the plan with you between now and the 17th. Okay?
So, what?
We stand adjourned.